Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. Greetings, salutations. Thanks for being with us. It's going up for the next 3 hours on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device on the MSC Radio app, and on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning in to the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour. We are with you until 6 o'clock today on this All-Star Tuesday, the only one of the 4 major sports to be doing much of anything today if you do not count the NBA Summer League. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game is tonight in Philadelphia. We'll get there much later in the program today. We will talk about last night's home run derby. Disappointing showing for the young Royal Jac Caglianone to finish in a tie for 6th and not advance to the second round of the home run derby, but it ended up an exciting one if you, A, had Netflix fired up for it, and B, stayed up late enough to see the conclusion. Jordan Walker of the Cardinals, their young slugger, becoming the first Cardinal ever to win a home run derby, silencing the crowd in Philadelphia who was cheering on their finalist, Kyle Schwarber. Ended up being a pretty good event. Now all Netflix needs to do is learn how to broadcast a live sporting event. Because, and I don't know, I could have grabbed like 5-6 people off the street and said, hey, direct this broadcast. And I feel like they might have done a better job. They certainly would not have done worse. So the good, the Cags, and the ugly, if you will, from last night's home run derby. We'll talk about that. And I want to know, from those of you listening today, if you're going to weigh in on the YouTube live chat or if you're going to text the program today. We'd love to hear from you in the text line, 785-272-9429. Did you watch the Derby? If you didn't, was it because it was on Netflix? Was it one of those things like, oh, yeah, if it's on the ESPN, I'll turn it on, but nah, I don't subscribe to Netflix. I'm not going to subscribe just for this. I'm not going to fire up the streaming service just for one thing. It's just a thing to channel flip to, and if I can't flip channels, that's not something I'm going to invest 4 hours of time in or however long it was. So I'm genuinely curious. Was your consumption of the home run derby made different by who was broadcasting it last night? Major League Baseball and certainly Netflix. Did you realize Netflix is paying $50 million for 3 baseball things this year? The first game of the year, that opening night game in San Francisco with the Giants and the Yankees, the home run derby, and the Field of Dreams game. And I don't even know who's playing in that this year. But they're going to play a game at the old Field of Dreams in Dyersville, Iowa. 3 nights of baseball. Well, 2 games and 1 exhibition for $50 million. My subscription price for that is too high. If they've got $50 million to spend on that, then we're all paying too damn much to subscribe to Netflix. But anyhow, we'll talk a little bit about the Home Run Derby last night. Look ahead to tonight's All-Star game. We have plenty of college football content coming your way on today's show. We're still finishing up our content dump from the Big 12 football media days in Frisco, Texas last week. I've got one more KU interview and one more K-State interview to bring to all of you. We're going to cross off the final KU interview today. Trey Lathan, the senior linebacker, joined me last week on Wednesday at the Star in Frisco, and you'll hear that conversation with Trey. We're going to bring that to you at the bottom of this hour. Appropriately enough, because it is Tuesday and it is our day to talk Jayhawks and Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. That's coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour today, as per normal on Tuesday. We talked to Michael in Frisco last week, but that was before we'd had the chance to hear from any of the KU contingents. So I'm curious as to what Michael took away from his conversations with Kansas coaches and players down at the Star. So Jayhawk Weekly coming up, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Trey Lathan coming up, bottom of the 3 o'clock hour. Also, speaking of college football, last year I went into Big 12 Media Days and came out of Big 12 Media Days with the same belief because I ran it by people both within the conference and people who just cover the conference, and it strengthened my belief going into last college football season that the Big 12 was the best conference for quarterbacks in America. I don't know that it ultimately reached those heights as a conference last year. Probably close. It wasn't wholly underwhelming. There were some guys who underachieved. There were some guys who overachieved. But going into this year, it's not quite the same hype, though Brett Yormark did try to make it so. He did get up on the dais. That was one of the first things he said in his opening remarks on Tuesday, was that we remain the conference of quarterbacks. So that got me thinking, just how good are the Big 12 quarterbacks this year? And, I mean, it's All-Star Week in baseball. It's the dead week. You know I had to tier them and rank them. So that's what we're going to do later on in the show. Tiering the Big 12 quarterbacks. Is there an elite quarterback in the Big 12? Because last year it felt like there were a lot of guys who could get to that level, and nobody really did. This year it doesn't feel like there are as many guys, to me, who can get to that level. Who are the guys with that chance to be elite? Who are the guys who have a chance to get invited to Manhattan? Is there a guy with a chance to get invited to Manhattan? I don't mean Kansas. I mean the Heisman Trophy ceremony. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Big 12 quarterbacks, and we'll rank them top to bottom. We'll tier them a little bit later on the show today. Plus, we'll have our typical Tuesday shenanigans. We'll play a round of Random Question Tuesday. We'll got 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a World Cup roundup coming up, and also another round of What Is Wrong With You on the show. Plus, your interaction. Want to hear from you. The text line is open. 785-272-9429 is that number. That is 785-272-9429. You're always welcome to text the program. You can also interact in the chat on our YouTube stream. We are streaming live on YouTube today and every day on our channel, 580 Sports Talk. Why don't you go on and subscribe to that YouTube channel? It doesn't cost you anything but a click or a tap of the screen, as it were, and you can check out the show while we're live, check out the chat, and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community. Mark H. and Vance are in the chat today. Good to hear from both of you. Look forward to hearing from more of you as we go along today on the show. So let's say nice things about last night's Home Run Derby first. We'll save the negative for later. Let's say nice things. I was optimistic about the Home Run Derby format. the change that was made, eliminating the clock and limiting the participants by number of swings and not a clock, I thought that it would make for a better television product. Because what are we really watching the Home Run Derby for? If you watch the Home Run Derby, you are turning on what is effectively batting practice. And this does not, even some of you out there who would describe yourself as pretty serious baseball fans, maybe don't get into batting practice, right? Maybe some of you who are extremely casual baseball fans love the Home Run Derby. And why do you love the Home Run Derby? If you do, if you are inclined to enjoy it, what is the thing you enjoy? Watching them hit the ball far and seeing how far they hit it and taking a moment to admire how far the ball is being hit, that it's landing in places that if you watch a season's worth or a decade's worth of games in that ballpark, balls don't get hit there. That's the appeal. That's the draw of the Home Run Derby. It's never been about the race or even necessarily the competition. I think competition is a fun part of it, certainly, if you got somebody to root for, or as was the case in Philadelphia last night, two people to root for, and then a whole other field of participants to root against. The competition element of it is nice, but we're there for the dingers. We're there to admire the dingers. And the old format, the timed format, just didn't allow for that. Just didn't allow for the opportunity to see how far the ball was going, because the impetus on both batter and pitcher in the time format was get as many balls to home plate as possible in that time frame, so we can't even watch one ball land before another ball has been launched into orbit. And it may have made in person for a good show, but it totally ruined the Home Run Derby as a television product. And with respect to the 40-odd thousand, however many it was, that packed into Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia last night, that's a TV product. And what matters is that good for the TV audience? Well, it's good for the TV audience again. The new format was a rousing success. Sometimes you don't need to rush through things. Sometimes you don't need a clock. You know, baseball thought they could fix everything with a clock. And look, I'm no longer one of those people who grumbles and complains about the pitch clock. I actually think the pitch clock is fine. I actually kind of like that you can play a game in 2.5 hours now, that not every game goes 3 hours. I'm good with that. That's fine with me. Keep the pitchers on their toes. They don't need to be fidgeting with the rosin bag and taking a minute between pitches. That's fine with me. It's made the game better. It's a positive change. Taking the clock out of the Home Run Derby was good for that event because it gave us the opportunity to ooh and ah when Junior Caminero hit one 491 feet, or when Jac Caglianone hit one to the upper deck at Citizens Bank Park in right field, where I've watched a lot of games in that park. People don't hit it there very often. They've had lots of left-handed sluggers in Philadelphia over the years. They got two that were in the thing last night. They have Ryan Howard. Ball didn't go there very often. Or balls into the bullpen, over the bullpen. Like those drop everything and admire this home runs were back in the Home Run Derby, and they were back to being able to be enjoyed. And the pacing of the event did end up creating some drama. And boy, did we ever get a dramatic finish with Jordan Walker hitting home runs on his final 6 swings to defeat Kyle Schwarber in the final. So, format, good. Format, thumbs up. Much better Home Run Derby. We got lucky that it came down to the drama that it did. It won't always be that dramatic of a finish with maybe that invested of a crowd. But it was a great show last night. It was a really, really good show. And it was a lot more enjoyable, I thought, to watch than the Derby had been in recent years. Because I'm there to see how far they can hit it. I'm there to admire the home runs. And big credit, before we move on, also good from last night. Man, if you didn't know much about Jordan Walker before last night, you know who clearly didn't know much about Jordan Walker before last night? a lot of the guys who were on the Netflix broadcast. Barry Bonds. I don't know that Barry Bonds knew Jordan Walker from Adam last night. And at the end of the night, he says, man, that was the best home run derby I've ever seen. I'll be watching a lot more of you, young man. Yeah, I think we all are. Because Jordan Walker, with that entire ballpark, not only booing him, but cheering every time he didn't hit a home run. There were only 3 people in that ballpark cheering for him. Mom, Dad, and Grandma. And that did not seem to bother Jordan Walker one iota. He just didn't change facial expression, shoot his gum, and hit his dingers. Very, very impressive performance by Jordan Walker last night in the home run derby. So that was enjoyable. If you tuned in for Jac Caglianone, you probably didn't stay tuned in for very long because he had a pretty quick round. He only hit 8 home runs. He did not advance through the first round. I thought it was a very representative round for Jac Caglianone as far as he is concerned, in the sense that in games, as in last night's home run derby, when Jac Caglianone catches hold of one and hits it, it stays hit. It is a sight to behold. A lot of his home runs are what you would call majestic, awe-inspiring. But to hit a home run, don't know if you know this, not a lot of ground ball home runs in Major League Baseball. And not a lot of line drive home runs either, if we're being real honest about it. You want to hit the ball over the fence, you got to hit that ball in the air. Jac Caglianone still doesn't do that quite often enough. I thought Randy Jazerli made a really interesting observation on X going into the tournament. Longtime baseball writer, Royals podcaster, although I don't think he podcasts regularly any longer about the Royals. Randy Jazerli on X observed that maybe Caglianone focusing on hitting the ball in the air in the home run derby might be good for his swing moving forward because he needs to focus on hitting the ball more in the air. He's doing it more than he did in his rookie season, but a guy with his power, you'd still like to see him do it more often. What did he end up hitting in the first half? 250-ish with 15 home runs. I'm going to pull up the baseball reference page, get that exact number. Jac Caglianone had 260 with 15 home runs. So you project it out to 90 games, 15 home runs. You're probably talking close to 30 home runs. 260 and close to 30 home runs. I would rather him hit 240 and hit 40 home runs. 40, 45 home runs. Because I think if he hits the ball more in the air, he's going to lose some batting average. I don't care. If he hits 15 more home runs, worth it. That's the kind of hitter I want to see Jac Caglianone become. And I thought that was a really interesting observation from Jazerli that obviously the reward comes in the home run derby when you hit the ball in the air. And maybe Cags thinking, I got to hit the ball in the air. Maybe that gets his swing to a place where he's going to hit the ball in the air a little bit more. Instead, it was Jac Caglianone's stock swing. And on the one hand, look, I kind of respect it. Didn't change the swing for the derby. You don't want to wreck things. You're having a good year. But it's not going to win you a home run derby because there's a lot of line drives. And it ain't the line drive derby. It ain't the ground ball derby. But that, in its way, I thought was really representative of what Jac Caglianone is doing on contact. It just doesn't get in the air often enough. When it does, look out below. Bring your glove. You're going to get a souvenir, but doesn't happen often enough. It's happening more often than it did in his rookie year. We've talked about this with Jac. But maybe he walks away from that experience with the understanding of, okay, like, I got as much power as any of these guys. Getting to it is as simple as elevating a little bit more. Catching it out front and hitting it in the air. Once he figures out how to do that, he is going to hit 40 home runs in a season. So that was the Cags of it. I'm a little disappointed. I thought he had a chance just because of how easy his power is. He's not a guy that really has to swing hard. He wasn't going to wear himself out. That's why Wilson Contreras had 13 in the first round, and I said, yeah, that guy's not going to win. He's already going to wear himself out. He's swinging way too hard. It's the guys with the easy swings. Jordan Walker doing like he's trying half the time, and he's hitting 450-foot home runs. It's easy power that wins the home run derby because you don't wear yourself out. So, good home run derby. Got to see Jack for a little bit. Lot to like. The Netflix broadcast was a train wreck. An hour-long pregame show that served nobody. An incredibly unfunny Will Ferrell and Friends cameo. You had terrible audio all night. Broadcasters, no matter who they were, whether it was Matt Vasgersian, Anthony Rizzo, and Hunter Pence in the booth, or L. Duncan and Albert Pujols and Barry Bonds down on the field, whoever else they had mic'd up, microphones were way too low in the mix. You could barely hear what anybody was saying most of the time. And actually, that would have been fine if Hunter Pence had been lower in the mix. Honestly, that would have been fine if Hunter Pence had been muted. I never want to hear him ever again. He sounded like he was auditioning to be baseball Pat McAfee. You know what baseball doesn't need? You know what nobody needs? Another Pat McAfee. One is too many, if you ask me. One Pat McAfee, way too many. We don't need a second. We don't need a baseball Pat McAfee. And that's what Pond Scum Hunter Pence, full disclosure. And this is not like, because I didn't like the booth before I got to the broadcast late, understandably. I got to the broadcast a little late. So it took me until late in the show to figure out who was up there with Matt Vasgersian. It was Anthony Rizzo and Hunter Pence. But I had already decided I didn't like Rizzo and I didn't like the other guy, whoever it was. And then I found out it was maybe my most hated Major League player of all time. I hated Hunter Pence as a player. Hated him. If I have any Cardinals fans in the audience, remember when you used to call the Mets pond scum back in the 80s? And they kind of were. Like, not even kinda. A lot of those guys were just straight scum. Like Lenny Dykstra, bottom 10 human, setting aside like the segregationists of it all. Bottom 10 human being to ever play baseball. Just awful person. That's how I felt about the 2010s Giants. Those teams that won the 3 titles. Brian Wilson, Madison Bumgarner, Hunter Pence, Pond Scum, the lot of them. I hated those teams. I still hate those teams. So you can take my criticisms of Hunter Pence as a broadcaster with a grain of salt, but he sucked. He brought nothing of value. He just screaming like Pat McAfee on College Game Day. Get him out of my face. And that's before you get to the fact that whoever was the director of the broadcast clearly had never directed a sporting event before. Weird camera angles, weird close-ups of the hitters, crowd shots at inopportune times. It was just, you paid $50 million to show this, Netflix. You better get it right. Yeah, the least you can do is get it right. For the sickos out there like me, are they going to watch the Home Run Derby? You put it on Tubi. You put it on, what's the one that shows all the religious flicks? Angel. You put it on that. You put it on PBS Kids. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch the Home Run Derby. Least you can do, if you're going to pay that much and pay, God knows what they had to pay Barry Bonds to show up. The least you can do is show the guys when they swing the bat in such a way that I can see that they're swinging the bat and making contact. Don't give me shots above the shoulders of a guy swinging the bat. What does that do? What good is that? So, unfortunately, the broadcast, a long way to go, but it's good derby. Good derby. I was entertained. I was annoyed for a lot of the night, but in the end, I was entertained. And very cool moment for Jordan Walker to go on and win the whole thing. We'll take a break here at 580 Sports Talk. Want to hear from you? Did you watch it last night? Would you normally watch it but didn't because it was stream only and you didn't happen upon it on ESPN? I'm curious about this. I know Major League Baseball is too. 785-272-9429 is the number. You can also interact in the live chat on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Coming up here in just a little bit, my Big 12 Football Media Days conversation with Trey Lathan, the senior linebacker at the heart of the Kansas defense for 2026. We got Michael Swain, the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We're going to tier the Big 12 quarterbacks. We got Random Question Tuesday. We got Countdown to Chiefs Kickoff. What is wrong with you? Headlines. We're full up today on this Tuesday, and we're glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk. .331 on 580 Sports Talk. Glad you're along for the ride on this Tuesday. Last night was the Home Run Derby on Netflix. Looking for your thoughts on the broadcast. Did you watch it? Did you not watch it? You less inclined to watch it because it was on streaming? Were you more inclined maybe because you wanted to see what Netflix would do with a Home Run Derby? Curious. 785-272-9429. Again, on the YouTube chat as well. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Let's go to the text line first. From the 785, we'll start here. I'm a full-time baseball sicko. Cannot bring myself to watch batting practice no matter how mammoth the shots. I do understand that point of view. It's like that bell curve graphic where you have people on one side saying, I'm a big baseball fan and I don't want to watch batting practice. And then on the other end, it's I could care less about baseball and I don't want to watch batting practice. Then you have the big bell curve, and like the very peak of the bell curve is just people saying, dingers! You know, sometimes the dingers bring people together. And that's the appeal of the Home Run Derby. It's always appealed to me. I don't know. Something about watching the long home runs. I've just always enjoyed it. Enjoyed it growing up, watching it with my dad, and someday I'll be fortunate enough, I hope, to get to watch it with my son. He didn't quite understand. I tried to turn it on the Netflix last night. My son hears that Netflix, da-dun, he thinks the show Trash Truck is coming on. He likes Trash Truck on Netflix, a show about a kid and the trash truck who's his best friend. I'd love to go into the lore of it with all of you. Just trust me, he really likes that show. But anyway, I try to tell him, hey, it's baseball practice. Wouldn't you like to watch baseball practice? Because he knows what that means. He will ask to do baseball practice, and he'll go out in the backyard and he'll hit off of his tee or whatever. He looked me in the eye and said, Daddy, no baseball practice. All right. Trash truck it is then. I put it up on my tablet next to the chair I was sitting in. He was sitting on my lap. And then once there was actually baseball happening, he looked over, he goes, ooh, the baseball practice. I say, yeah, you want to watch it? No. I tried. Shout out to the listener from the 785 who just texted us that my daughter loves Trash Truck. Hell yeah. I'm glad we got Trash Truck Nation in the chat. Good show. I just wonder why his parents don't think it's weird that his only friend appears to be the garbage truck. And why can the bear talk, and the raccoon can talk, and the mouse can talk, but the trash truck can't talk? Why can't the trash truck talk? I got questions. Anyway, From the 785 regarding the home run derby, exit velocity should be incorporated into a tiebreaker. The first round tiebreaker was home run distance, but I'm glad you mentioned exit velocity because that was one of my other gripes with Netflix last night. They showed the distance. Show me the exit velocities. That's what I want to see. I don't just want to see how far it goes. I want to see how fast it's going and getting there. I want to see the exit velocities. They didn't put that on the screen once. How do you not do that? Just shows a misunderstanding of your audience. From the 785, I only have antenna TV. I don't believe in watching cable, satellite, or streaming stations or events. Hey, if that's your line and you're dug in on principle, I can do nothing but respect that. Absolutely respect that. I went the antenna route for a short time when I moved out here because I thought it was crazy to pay cable prices. And so I got the antenna, and I still probably have it somewhere. It's moved around with me a little bit. But at the end of the day, when this is what you do for a living, sometimes you're going to have to watch ESPN Plus. Sometimes you just got to do it. But if it is not your job, if it is just your hobby and you are dug in, I respect that, honestly. Honest to goodness, I do. Let's pivot over to the live chat on YouTube and see what's going on in there today. Ryan liked the YouTube broadcast or the Netflix broadcast. Thought it was better than the ESPN broadcast of the home run derby. There was less Chris Berman, if that's your thing. Although, honestly, the last few years on ESPN, Carl Ravitch made me miss Chris Berman because at least Berman was excited to be there. Carl Ravitch just every time he's broadcasting anything, I doesn't feel like he's actually happy to be there. But Ryan says, for the most part, you could follow the ball better than the ESPN production. Camera angle needed to be behind the hitter along the third baseline. Tracer technology would have helped. Ryan also submits, I've never understood the people who watch the sporting event and complain about the announcers. Are you not tuning in? Yes, I'm tuning in regardless. I can always hit mute. I can always... if I'm watching a baseball game, I've hated the Rockies television broadcast for years. But on MLB TV, I can choose to listen to the radio broadcast instead. It used to be they just gave you the Nat sound, just the ballpark audio. That was sweet. I used to watch games like that all the time on MLB.TV. They don't let you do that anymore, which sucks. But I used to do that all the time. But no, like a good broadcaster will add to the event, will add something. And a broadcaster who's just screaming or just in love with the sound of his own voice, they can detract from an event. For the most part, you're happy if you don't notice them. And they were a little too noticeable last night for my taste. But appreciate the thoughts. Vance says, I've been out on Netflix for a few months, so I did not watch the home run derby. Mark H, I don't have or want Netflix. Understood. Like that. I do wonder how much new business Netflix, because if you're going to spend, again, $50 million on something, you got to be banking on that driving some new revenue, right? Do you think that between Yankees Giants on opening night and that and the Field of Dreams game is $50 million in revenue? Is that worth $50 million in revenue for Netflix? I certainly can't be worth $50 million in new subscribers or renewed subscribers. I can't imagine. I'm sure there are a handful of people who are like, man, my Netflix lapsed, but I really did want to watch the home run derby. I always like the derby. And, maybe I'll watch that. I Will Find You, I've heard is really popular. My wife and I watched that. It was good. It was good. It was a little predictable. It was good. Well acted. What's his name? Milo Ventimiglia. Really good. Anyway, I'm sure there's some of that. But end of the day, like that's a big outlay of expense for just 3 nights. And you'd think if you're going to spend that much money, you'd get the broadcast exactly right. And I've thought they've done football okay. Like I've watched the Christmas Day games. Obviously, the Chiefs played on Netflix 2 Christmases ago. I watched that. I thought that was okay. I thought that was mostly fine. I haven't watched any of the boxing. Some of y'all may have watched, like, if they put the boxing, Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul on Netflix. Like, so I don't know how their boxing coverage is, but I just thought the direction of last night's broadcast left a little to be desired. But maybe I'm being too picky. Last one real quick. and I think this is an interesting one from the 785. Why are we convinced that Cags can't hit 260 and hit 40 dingers a year? He's young enough. He's basically still learning how to hit. Like, I don't want to rule that out. I don't want to rule out that outcome for Jac Caglianone. He's extremely talented. He hits the ball extremely hard. I just think that the special tool is the power. If we were talking about a guy who had like 70 grade contact and 70 grade power, I'd say, yeah, just, stay with your swing and live with the results. Not a lot of guys have 70 grade both contact and power. It's pretty rare combo. Cags can certainly get there. I think the likelier outcome and the one that would be the more valuable outcome is the one with more home runs. Even if it costs you a few points in batting average, the power is so special. And if you've got a 40 to 45 home run guy in the middle of your order, even if he's only hitting 240, I think that's more valuable in today's game. But yes, I don't want to make it sound like I'm ruling out an outcome where both the average and the power come along for Cags, because he is crazy talented, and you can't teach, like, as hard as he swings the bat and as hard as he hits the ball, he's in rare company. He could be something really, really special. I just think that it's going to come a point where it feels like with somebody with his game power, if he's only hit 20, 25 home runs, that's a letdown. That's a letdown. And you have to make an adjustment to get to that power. But we'll see. We'll see if that ends up being fully necessary in the long haul. We'll take a break. When we come back, my conversation from Big 12 Football Media Days with Trey Lathan, the linebacker for the Kansas Jayhawks. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. Welcome back in, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday. Still emptying the tank of Big 12 Football Media Days content from my 2-day excursion to the Star in Frisco, Texas last week. The last of the KU player interviews we're going to bring you right here as I chatted with one of the men in the middle and one of the most important players, one of the most experienced players on the Kansas defense. Senior linebacker Trey Lathan joined me on Wednesday in Frisco. Here's that conversation. Welcome back to Big 12 Football Media Days from the Star in Frisco, Texas. Dan Lucero here with 580 Sports Talk. We're talking now to Trey Lathan, senior linebacker for the Kansas Jayhawks. And Trey, you look sharp, man. I got to start there. The suit is nice. Who got you together? Who helped you pick out the suit and everything?
I got this in Morgantown. My time in Morgantown. Got this from Phil and Daniels of Morgantown.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So this is the suit that's been with you for a minute. It's kind of a, what would you say, like a light blue, maybe a periwinkle blue a little bit?
Yeah, it's like a light blue. You know, This is my second time wearing it.
How about the chain, the TL4? Tell me about the chain. Where'd that come from?
The chain is from AJ's Jewelry in Miami.
Okay.
They did it for me, and I think in September.
The Cuban link and everything, man. It looks good. It looks good. I'll tell you what. You and Cam Pickett, you got the jewelry right. You two, for sure. You're here at Big 12 Football Media Days. You're going into your senior season. Entrenched at linebacker on this defense. How do you feel about being a leader on this defense? Is that a natural position for you to be in, whether it's vocally or by example, or is that something you've sort of had to learn how to become over the time that you've had in college football?
I feel like I had to learn to become a leader because I feel like, I'm a well-respected guy. I bond with everybody. I'm just a jokeful guy, and I haven't really looked at a leadership role until like this year when the guys, they come to me asking questions and stuff like that. And then I just finally realized, what being a leader looks like. So
it's year number 2 for you in DK McDonald's defense.
Yes,
What's
sir.
the biggest difference with your relationship, not just individually, but in terms of the whole defense, your relationship with DK McDonald from year 2 compared to what it was this time last year, year 1?
It's way better. We're able to have those hard conversations, about things what went wrong, and, what play calls we did wrong, what things I did wrong and stuff like that, and things that we can work on together. Our relationship has grown tremendous, and he's putting a lot of faith in us to get this right, So
what do you point to as the things that you need to get right? Because you guys, and I've talked about this with some of your teammates today, you guys were maybe a play or two away in a handful of games from having a really, really good record.
Yes, sir.
How do you make sure that you make those plays this year, both individually, again, collectively as a unit?
I mean, it starts with practice. You just gotta learn how to practice, and those things that we missed in the game, we have to practice those things. So when they come up, like tackling, such an example, like Utah game, we missed a bunch of tackles. It was one play that we would a tackle on the sideline, and they broke for 30, and then hurry up, quick hike the ball, and then had an explosive for a touchdown right after. So things like that, we're working on in practice, to get better daily, and so we can actually close out those games and not miss those plays.
Trey Lathan, senior linebacker for the Kansas Jayhawks, joining us from Big 12 Football Media Days here on 580 Sports Talk. It's a relatively new collection of skill players on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, you got a quarterback competition going on over there, but a lot of new faces at running back, a lot of new faces at wide receiver. We're pretty familiar, obviously, with what Dylan Edwards can do. Now that you've practiced against him, what's that like, and what do you think he's going to put out there on the field in Jayhawk uniform?
Man, he's going to put out a lot of touchdowns, a lot of big exciting plays, a lot of explosives. Dylan Edwards, that's a dude who loves football, and you can't take that away from a dude like him who loves football and who loves being around the game. So
on the defensive side of the ball, talking about the front seven, you're obviously at linebacker. In front of you, you've got a defensive line with some experience. Back couple of those guys are here today, Blake Harold, Leroy Harris III. Tell me about the leaders on that side and guys you think are primed for really big years up front that are going to help make your job a little bit easier at linebacker.
Yeah, definitely Leroy, Blake, but definitely the whole D-line. We had a bunch of guys who transferred in, but, Leroy and Blake are definitely taking charge. And now also Alex Bray. Those are guys who a lot of people who look up to in the program there, they set the standard of what hard works look like in our program, and I think they're going to show the world what they got.
From your perspective, what are the things that you're trying to add to your game or do a little bit more of this year to try and be the best player you can be for your team?
Man, I'm trying to be physical, a lot more physical than I was last year, trying to destroy blocks and, be a threat in the run game. I feel like the pass game I was pretty good in, but I feel like being a threat in the run game, I feel like that's going to take my game to the next level.
Trey Lathan is our guest, senior linebacker for the Kansas Jayhawks here on 580 Sports Talk from Big 12 Football Media Days at the Star in Frisco, Texas. You'll be going to London to play this year, the Union Jack Classic, first such game of its kind at Wembley Stadium. What are you most looking forward to about having that experience?
Just being out overseas with my teammates. A lot of them, haven't really traveled, internationally or traveled really ever. So just being out there with them, showing them, a new life, life outside the U.S. or just life outside the football games that we play in. Just being able to create memories with them. So
what do you think of the trophy?
Man, that thing is sick. I definitely want to take that home, and I feel like once we get that W in in September, I feel like it's gonna come home with me. So
yeah, you want you and then the trophy got its own seat on the flight back across the pond, right?
Tell Coach Lipo that it got to come with me.
Trey Lathan is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk. You're from Florida, 5 siblings. Were you all athletic, or were you the most athletic of the group? Or
I'm the most athletic of the group. My older brother played football, but I'm by far the most athletic.
Is it competitive in aspects that aren't athletics? Were you competitive with your siblings growing up?
Yeah. Competitive, like playing outside grandma's house. We play this game called cans, and 4 squares like that. That really gets the things rocking and stuff like that. But
you are never more competitive than you are with your siblings.
No, yeah,
no,
sure.
that lasts for life. What order are you in the group?
I'm number 3.
You're number 3, so you're smack in the middle there.
Yeah.
You're not going to forget the middle child if they're the most athletic. You're going to make sure, for sure. Tell me a little bit about your hometown, Goulds, Florida.
Goulds, Florida, yep.
Tell me a little bit about it, and if I'm coming to town to visit and I've got one night to spend and I got to go get a meal, where am I going to go?
Well, we don't have one in Goulds, but my town is like not really a small town, because I grew up in Miami, but my community is Goulds, Florida. So
sure.
it's a lot of people who been there since the 70s.
Okay.
My whole family stays in like a 3-block radius. In Goulds. My family on both sides, my dad and my mom's side. But I would say Pollo Tropical is a place that you just gotta go. I mean, it's not a fast food restaurant. It's like rice and chicken, but it's a place that you must try.
I do like rice and chicken. Yeah. You got a go-to order when you go there? Or?
Yeah, I get a half a chicken with white rice and beans and corn.
That'll fill you up.
Yeah.
That'll fill you up good. A few more questions for Trey Lathan, senior linebacker for the Kansas Jayhawks. What does it mean to you to be here, to be representing your school, your program at Big 12 Media Days, to be chosen as selected as one of the voices, really, and the faces of your program? What does that mean, that responsibility, simplify to you?
It's truly a blessing, just, knowing where I'm coming from, and knowing what, like what this means, to the program and what this means to everybody out there, and, Coach Lipo and stuff like that. It's nothing but a blessing.
Have you had a Monster Energy drink yet while you've been out here?
No, I don't drink energy drink.
I respect that. What if you need to get up and go, a pick me up? Is it coffee, soda, or
Snickers?
Snickers.
Yeah, Snickers. Yeah.
Snickers satisfies.
Yeah.
That'll get you going.
Yeah.
And, you're not you when you're hungry.
Yeah.
Trey Lathan, you wouldn't want to meet him when he's hungry or not. on the gridiron, he is a senior linebacker for the Kansas Jayhawks, and he joins us from Big 12 Football Media Days here in Frisco, Texas. Trey, pleasure getting to know you, and pleasure watching you play. Look forward to seeing great things from you in 2026.
Thank you so much.
So that was Trey Lathan. I spoke with him not quite a week ago tomorrow, at Big 12 Football Media Days. Enjoyed the conversations with the KU contingent. We've got one more K-State interview to bring you. Rex Van Wy, senior linebacker. That conversation will come to you tomorrow, right about this time on 580 Sports Talk, appropriately, because tomorrow's our Wildcat wrap-up day. Today's our Jayhawk Weekly Day. Michael Swain joins us in a little less than an hour here to talk KU on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to take a break, but before we do, I want to once again tell you that Trey Lathan's jewelry game was on point, and the Big 12 Football Media Days. And if you, too, would like your jewelry game to be as on point as Trey Lathan's, go see the people at Calhoun's Jewelers here in Topeka. Their customer service is second to none. They will treat you like an MVP. When you walk in the front door, they will take great care of you, show you around the showroom, lead you to either the piece that is exactly what you're looking for yourself or for that someone special, or they'll help you design the ideal piece for you or that special someone. It's top-notch customer service. It's top-notch jewelry. It's the place to go if you're looking to buy jewelry for any occasion, for yourself, for someone special. Go see Calhoun's Jewelers, 18th and Gage in Topeka. Back to wrap up this hour of the program next. .355 on 580 Sports Talk. Got 2 more hours. Spencer Dupuis going to join me for those here on 580 Sports Talk today. Catch that ad for the basketball tournament before we came back. TBT coming a week and a day from now to Lee Arena right here in the capital city. It'll be game 2 of that 3-game series between the Kansas alumni, JHX Hoops, and the K-State alumni, Purple Rain. We've got tickets we're going to be giving away. Family 4-packs of tickets to give away to go see that game at Lee Arena next Wednesday, July 22nd. So be listening throughout the program for your cue to call. And we'll hook some people up with family 4-packs as we get closer to the day of that game. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, we're going to talk some Big 12 quarterbacks. Who's the best of the best in the conference? As I tried to make a tier list, I found myself of the belief there is a clear top 5 in the conference. And there's a clear number 16 in the conference. And everything in between, it's a lot of transfers, a lot of guys taking new jobs, and new faces in new places, and all kind of depends on the traits you want to bet on and the experience you want to bet on. But are there any elite Heisman-level quarterbacks in the Big 12 this year? We will discuss that. We'll also talk Jayhawks with Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network for Jayhawk Weekly. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour. And, of course, we'll have a round of What Is Wrong With You, and we'll continue our countdown to Chiefs kickoff. But real quick, remember when I said listen for your cue to call? I made you wait till the very end of the show yesterday. I'm not making you wait. 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429. Caller number 3 right now. You're going to the TBT game at Lee Arena next Wednesday. 580 Sports Talk returns after this. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuy with you until 6 o'clock tonight here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. We're online at 580WIBW.com. We're on your phone, your mobile device, on the MSC radio app. And we're on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with us on this fine Tuesday. We got a lot more show to come for you. Going to talk some Big 12 football this hour. Tiering the quarterbacks. We're talking Big 12 QBs because obviously those are always the headliners, although there don't feel as though there are as many headline names in this group of Big 12 quarterbacks, at least on July 14th, than it felt like there were going into the last Big 12 season when that was the talk of Big 12 media days. And we talked a lot on this show about how that was going to be what separated, differentiated the Big 12 from any other conference was proven quarterbacks, proven high-level quarterback play. And it's not that the quarterback play in the conference was bad. It just maybe wasn't as good as had been hyped to be. So with a little less hype coming into this year, how good is the quarterback play across the Big 12 going to be? And in the course of this, I think the conclusion that I came to was that I still think quarterback play in the Big 12 is in a pretty good place. And we'll talk through it, and we'll see if you agree or disagree with that broader point as we go through kind of the list of the quarterbacks. We'll also have Michael Swain of Fog.net join us today on the program for Jayhawk Weekly. And yes, we'll get his thoughts on Big 12 football media days a week removed. But KU basketball still working the portal, adding a player to the roster today. So we're going to get Michael Swain's thoughts on that coming up on the show.
Is it really the portal? Or is it using international talent?
I don't know, man. They added a player. How about that?
Yeah.
How about they added to their roster?
But he might not even be able to play. There's a bunch of questions about it.
There are a lot of questions. That's why it's good that we're having Michael Swain on, because he'll do a better job answering them with his expertise than I can answer them on the spot. That's why we got Michael Swain coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We got What Is Wrong With You and continuing our countdown to Chiefs kickoff this hour as well. Want to hear from you on the program. Text line's open, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. Can also get at us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Before we get to the football this hour, Spencer, you watch any of the Derby last night?
Yeah, I had it on the entire time.
Okay. Thumbs
Just
up.
pulled up Netflix, put it on. They did a very long pre-show.
Yes, I don't know that we needed an hour pregame show.
I didn't really tune into that. It was on, but I was doing things.
This is a sign that I am maturing, getting older in my life. A younger me never would have had the thought, this is too much Will Ferrell. But that was way too much Will Ferrell. That made me want to watch the new show less.
I didn't really get that whole thing because, you have a legend, as the announcer to introduce everybody, and then you just have three guys that are promoting their show, which seems to be the Netflix get up for sports. Because when Netflix had the Commanders on Christmas, they had Bert Kreischer out in the tailgate lot doing a bunch of skits and stuff for his upcoming Netflix show. So I get what they're doing there, but I think it's too much. And Will Ferrell was talking over the legend Bruce Buffer or whoever was there, whichever Buffer was there. So I didn't like that part. I didn't like that they switched between Vasgersian and the crew and the little lounge set they had of I can't remember the chick's name, and
L. Duncan.
Yeah, L. Duncan and like MLB legends. I didn't like that they switched between that while players were hitting during the Derby. It was so different this year that it wasn't like you got 2 minutes and then there was like a 4-minute break and then you went to the next person. It was like, well, I guess if we want to add these people into the broadcast, we have to like not let the guy that we're paying to call home runs, who he gets a lot of hate for the way he does play-by-play, but I like the way Vasgersian calls his home runs, but he didn't really even call any really last night, which is a whole different thing. I liked the quality. I wish they would have not shown like front to back switching too much. And also the numbers definitely lied on some of the lengths, because Jac Caglianone hit a moonshot and they said it was like 449.
Yeah, I wanted exit velocities. I wanted less Hunter Pence. I wanted.
So they had exit velocities, just not on the screen.
Yeah, they didn't put them on the screen.
They had a screen out in the outfield.
Right, so they have the data. Put it on the TV.
Yes.
Put it on the TV.
And I also didn't like that they didn't have like a list of guys. I don't, unless I'm forgetting
like a
that.
Running score.
Yeah, on the right side, like golf does.
Yeah,
like who hit what? Yeah, leaderboard of who hit what.
No,
like,
that would have been nice. No,
other than that,
I thought it was a very poor broadcast and a very good event.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the rule changes, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, I thought
think
the rule
that
changes
made
was great.
for a funner and more. Not like, oh crap, we've got 2 minutes, let's hit. And then they were breaking the rules anyway, because you're supposed to wait till the ball landed. Like that was a thing a couple years ago, I think. But nobody was waiting till the ball landed. The one thing I really was not a fan of was, I mean, I get it. It's a live sporting event, and so they've got to pay for it somehow. Was like, man, I got Netflix without ads. But they were showing me ads. But I think that's just the live sports aspect.
Yeah, I mean, gotta make that $50 million back one way or another.
Yeah.
But,
so I didn't like. Can we get a non-commercial version with more commentary if you don't pay for the ads?
Hey, if you wanted more Hunter Pence, God bless you.
No, I didn't. I think they could have done better with that lounge area. They could have brought in players over and had them on.
The microphones could have been louder. They were hard to hear. Like it was just the truck. Like. The broadcasters,
again, it's the first
whatever.
one for them. So, like,
whoever was in the truck, it was like their first day. Like it was like their first day on the job.
What if I was in the truck? Would you get mad if it was me and I messed
You
it
might
up?
have done a better job.
Okay.
You might have done a better job in the truck than whoever was in the truck last night. Like some of the camera cuts and the camera angles, they were nonsense. They were terrible.
Yeah, just I will say it was getting too stale on ESPN over the last couple of years. I think I said this yesterday.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think you'd find a lot of people agree with that assessment. It's
like when I was 15, it was amazing, and now last year it was horrible.
Everything was cooler when we were 15.
That's true.
Everything was cool. Everything was the best. With the uniforms teams wore, Saturday Night Live, the home run derby, monster trucks. Everything was cooler when we were 15, man. That's just that's just a fact of life.
Philly fans were being Philly fans last night. That's for sure.
I didn't have a problem with that. I saw people on like, oh, shame on Philadelphia fans. First of all, have you met Philadelphia fans? Second of all, yeah, they're rooting for their guy. I am a single. It goes back to when people gave Kansas City fans hell for how they booed Robinson Cano at the 2012 home run derby.
Yeah.
Because he got the spot that didn't go to a player on the Royals, and Cano got booed and then went out and hit 0 home runs. Nary a dinger from Robinson Cano, and the crowd at the K loved it, and Kansas City fans took a lot of heat for that, and I thought that was ridiculous then. Like, what are you there for? To just clap politely? You're still going to be a fan of baseball, fan of your team, and when you root for guys, that means naturally you root against guys.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. That's sports, man. You know who else didn't have a problem with it? Jordan Walker. Did not bother him one iota.
That man's life changed last night. He's making like $740,000 this year, and he made what?
$1 million.
$1 million last night. One other thing I have to say about this.
Okay.
Is I Oh, I just lost my train of thought. I guess I'll bring it up later until my final word. That'll be my final word.
All right. It'd be like that sometimes. Let's talk Big 12 quarterbacks. Again, like I said at the top, last year it really felt like we were going into a Big 12 season where the level of quarterback play in the league was going to be what separated the Big 12 and what made it must-see TV week in, week out. When you think about the established guys, the established long-term starters in the league that you had in the likes of Baron Morton and Josh Hoover and Jalen Daniels and Avery Johnson, and you had Brennan Sorsby, you had Noah Fafita, you had Sam Levitt, the quarterback of the conference champions, Sawyer Robertson, Rocco Beck. Like, you had a lot of star power at the position. And then as the year went on, guys like, Brendan Sorsby had a nice year. Devin Dampier proved that he was the real deal coming over from New Mexico to Utah. So the level of quarterback play in the league was really good. But for the Big 12 to have really reached the heights that we all kind of want it to reach if we have an interest in the prestige of the Big 12, they needed more from, they need a little bit more from Sawyer Robertson. They needed a little bit more from Avery Johnson or Jalen Daniels, or even Josh Hoover. Or, gosh, Baron Morton could have scored 1 point in the playoffs against Miami. Could have quarterbacked that team to one scoring drive. But you get the idea. It was just a little bit of a letdown. So the hype bubble is maybe not as big for the Big 12 this year at the quarterback spot. And I look at this list of starting quarterbacks, and I don't see anybody that I would comfortably classify as an elite starting quarterback in the country. There is nobody that is on this list of 16 starting quarterbacks where I say it would be a reasonable outcome for that quarterback to pop up in Manhattan at the Heisman Trophy ceremony. I don't think there is that level of player in the league. If we were doing a tier list, you have the S tier for the best of the best. I don't think there's an S tier quarterback in the Big 12 this year.
I think there could be by year's end.
I think there are 5 guys who are clearly winners in the league and are set apart. I think there are 5 guys that I wouldn't even quibble with how you want to rank them. I know Noah Fafita's first-team all-conference last year and returning first-team all-conference quarterback. Usually you put number 1 and you don't worry about it. But I would say, you know what? I wouldn't even say 5. I'll say 6. I think there are 6 quarterbacks. And however you want to order these 6, then I think you probably have a case. I think the 6
5. I don't know who your 6 would be.
The 6 best quarterbacks in this league are Noah Fafita of Arizona, Bear Bachmeier of BYU, Devin Dampier of Utah, Avery Johnson of Kansas State, Connor Wegman of Houston, and Drew Mestamaker from Oklahoma State. Those are the 6 best quarterbacks in the conference.
That's where I thought you were going with Houston,
So, and it took me a little bit to come around on Wegman, and all of these guys have warts, right? We've seen Fafita not be very good. 2 years ago, he was not very good. He's a little undersized. You worry about him being maybe injury prone. Bachmeier, great dual threat quarterback. Is he going to grow as a passer this year? Dampier, same question. Avery Johnson, I think, is a very good player who regressed a little bit last year rather than growing. Is that big leap still out there for Avery Johnson? Mestamaker, the question is, how does it translate from being at North Texas to being at Oklahoma State? It's translated really well for quarterbacks who were that prolific. Kind of translated really well for Dampier, going from New Mexico to Utah last year. So I have a lot of confidence in Mestamaker. And Wegman is maybe the guy. He would be 6th for me. If you really pressed me to rank him, I'd probably have Wegman as the guy to be outside of that top 5.
But that's where I was thinking.
The numbers are really good. The numbers for last year for Wegman are really strong. And the recruiting pedigree is strong too. He's 5-star. So was that a big leap forward? under a good coach and a player who's maybe still got some growing to do in his final season, or was it a function of Houston playing the weakest schedule in the Big 12 last year? I guess we'll find out. But those, to me, are the 6 best guys. And I don't know if I had to pick one of those guys. If you told me, all right, one of those 6 guys is going to be in Heisman consideration by the end of the year, I guess I would probably lean Dampier just because I think he's got the most athletic upside, but and because I feel like Utah is the likeliest of those. Well, no, because I think BYU's the likeliest of those teams to win the league. I just don't think Bachmeier's that kind of passer yet. Like he's a great football player. He wears number 47. He's an awesome football player. Like, do I think he's an awesome quarterback yet? Nah, I think there's still some growing to do.
Prove me this year, Bach.
I think he probably I have a lot of faith in him. Obviously, I'm not a huge doubter, but like as far as the ability to, like, I think Wegman and Fafita and certainly Mestamaker better passers.
Yeah,
I think Avery Johnson's probably a better passer. I think Dampier's a better passer. Like Bachmeier's probably the 6th best passer on that list, but he shows some growth as a sophomore that knows he's going to start. Because remember, he went into spring last year thinking he was going to back up Jake Retzlaff, and then you saw what happened. So some room to grow there. Like there's ceilings for those guys, but we've also seen like kind of what their floors respectively look like for all of those guys, except for maybe Mestamaker, but he's coming from the AAC, so we don't know. He's got the most to prove as far as doing it against the Big 12.
Yeah, that was where I would be hesitant to like. I went through some rankings by some people, and they have him Mestamaker number 1.
He was unreal last year.
Unreal, but how does
Huge
that translate
numbers.
from North Texas's, what were they in, the American last year?
Yes.
To the Big 12. Like, you recruit a lot of different guys in Power 4 football.
Yeah, he'll be playing better defenses. There's no question about that.
There's a guy that I think has a potential to be in the top mix, but I just think he's got an interception problem.
And who is that?
Lagway.
Okay, so I have Lagway on. I'm not quite to Lagway yet.
Okay.
Because after that group of 6, I have 2 guys that I think they're transfers in, but I think the 2 guys other than Mestamaker, who I think I set him apart because that's how much better I think he was last year. 2 guys I think are going to hit the ground running: Alonzo Barnett at UCF and Jaden Craig at TCU. Barnett was the Sun Belt Player of the Year last year,
JMU,
and
right?
he was coming off of a torn ACL. So I think that we could see a better version of Barnett this season in the Scott Frost offense at UCF. I think he could be good right away. Jaden Craig was the Ivy League Player of the Year and is getting a little bit of NFL buzz, and he's going to TCU, where Josh Hoover was never a guy who overwhelmed me, but he put up really good numbers. I think Craig could certainly duplicate Hoover's numbers in that system. So those are the transfers. Those 2 in Mestamaker are the transfers I think are going to be really good. I have Lagway in my 3rd tier. I call it the "Are we sure about these guys?" tier, with him at Baylor, Cutter Boley at Arizona State, Will Hammond at Texas Tech, and Michael Hawkins, who I think is the favorite pretty substantially for the job at West Virginia. With all due respect to how Scotty Fox showed down the stretch,
I think he's going to beat out
Hawkins. Well, he was a low 5, high 4-star commit coming from Oklahoma. The reason, though, that I have questions about these guys, like DJ Lagway, SEC to Big 12, that's a transfer down. Cutter Boley, that's a transfer down. SEC down to the Big 12. Will Hammond, if Texas Tech was sure about him, when they had done all this, made all this big mess over Brendan Sorsby,
nope.
Michael Hawkins, if he were that dude at Oklahoma, wouldn't Brent Venables have just met him be that dude at Oklahoma and not gone out and gotten John Mateer in the first place?
Yeah.
So I have questions about the ceiling, like athletes all over the place here. Like Lagway's a dual threat, Hawkins a dual threat, Hammond can run, Boley's 6'5" with a big arm. So definitely some potential there, but I think some real questions. Probably Boley performed the best of the 4 last year. Lagway he showed some flashes as a freshman. He was terrible at Florida last year. Big part of the reason the coach got fired. So some questions about those guys. Then you have the quarterbacks who are established, successful guys who are really leveling up. J.C. French at Cincinnati is coming up from Georgia Southern, where he's the all-time leading passer in program history, which sounds more impressive before you remember that they ran the triple option until they hired Clay Helton 4 years ago. And Jalen Rayner is coming up from Arkansas State.
Yeah.
So you have guys who are coming up from a much lower level and I think have a little bit more to prove. They were good players at that level, but they weren't the level of player that Barnett was at JMU or that Craig was at Harvard. So I have my questions about those guys. My bottom two tiers, I have the free balling tier because that's what Juju Lewis says he was doing last year at Colorado. He said he was just out there free balling, just playing, not reading defenses. He was just out there playing. Doesn't really speak well to the coaching there at Colorado. But now they've got Brennan Marion in as their offensive coordinator. And he runs that go-go offense. And for those of you who don't know what the go-go offense is, it's a lot of two-back stuff where you've got like a triple option on just about every single play, and it helps your quarterback's a good runner to run that offense. They ran at UNLV 2 years ago, and they went from like bottom 30 in the country in offense to top 10 when they ran the go-go. And then Marion was the head coach at Sac State last year, and now he's the offensive coordinator at Colorado. And as I mentioned, it helps if you have a quarterback who's mobile to run that, and Juju not. Like, he's not a big kid, but he's not a fast kid. And I think he's just going to struggle in that offense. If he's talking about, I don't know really what I was doing out there last year, some of that is coaching. A lot of that is coaching. But how much of that is you? Like, he's still really young. He's only 18.
Yeah.
18 as a sophomore. So he's super young. So I'm not entirely writing off Juju Lewis yet, but he is one of the least experienced guys and one of the youngest guys in a conference full of experienced players. I can't rank him any higher than this. I can only rank him ahead of one situation, and my bottom tier is the if you have three, you don't have one tier, and that's Kansas.
Yeah.
And that is the glaring red flag for the Kansas Jayhawks entering 2026. It's not necessarily fatal that nobody separated in the quarterback competition in the spring, but somebody better do it in the fall because you don't want to be in a spot where you're rotating through a bunch of guys. And even when they do land on one, they're going to be landing on a guy who had some middling results in the AAC and Chase Jenkins, and probably not him because he was hurt most of spring. A guy in Isaiah Marshall who we have no idea what that looks like, him throwing the ball, and Cole Ballard, a former walk-on. Like, those are your options. And that, to me, feels like the worst quarterback room in the Big 12. And I'd love to be wrong, and I think Andy Kotelnicki can make a lot shake with whoever ends up winning the job. I don't necessarily think this dooms Kansas to having the worst offense. I think they're going to have to be imaginative. They're going to have to be creative. Kotelnicki's going to have to max out whoever wins that job. But as it stands right now, July 14th, you feel better about the other 15 teams and their quarterback situations than you feel about Kansas.
Yeah, I think that's quite easy to say, and I thought this the whole time when we were talking with Swain, and Swain was saying, there's really no plan to bring anybody in. There's no budget to bring anybody in. So you're just kind of rolling with the punches and having guys elevate to starter. Somebody's going to elevate to starter this year, and you're not going to go recruit a quarterback in the cycle, which kind of sucks. But, I mean, you reap what you sow when it comes to how the season's going to go this year. And some analyst and, friend of the show, Shehan Jayaraja, mentioned on a podcast that he doesn't see them winning more than like 4 to 6 games. So
I have said that I think being bowl eligible would be a really good outcome this year for Kansas. And left unsaid in saying that is that the floor is lower than we have perceived it to be for Kansas the last couple of years. And quarterbacks, maybe the biggest part of the reason why that's the case. We're going to talk to Michael Swain of Fog.net here in just a little bit on 580 Sports Talk. But before we get to a break and what is wrong with you, I want to tell you about the folks at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon, where the unlimited wash passes are built to suit you and your vehicle's needs. And look, if you soar with Eagle once a week, that unlimited wash pass, whether you get the express wash or the full service or any of the other wash packages that they offer, 3 washes in a month pays for itself. And that's great value. And Not only is it great value, it's outstanding customer service. It's an outstanding cost benefit for you because their prices are lower than competitors, and they're locally owned and operated, so they know how important it is to keep Topeka's roads and vehicles shining. Soar with the Eagle once a week at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. What is wrong with you is next. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? We've got two new stories competing today. Our Monday winner, current champ, Party Foul. The guy who drove a party bus into a house because he was driving drunk. Hit 3 parked vehicles and a house because he was a little bit too much a part of the party on a party bus. For my story, we are going to meet Florida woman, 51-year-old Tammy Baldino, who sent some threatening text messages to a male acquaintance at 3 in the morning. How threatening were those texts? Well, quote, "I will kill you." Quote, "I have a gun and a bullet with your name on it." Police charged that Baldino texted the 51-year-old victim. They recovered the text from Baldino's phone, which she reportedly said nobody else used, and of which she had sole possession. Allegedly, she sent an ex-boyfriend a series of different threatening messages this month, warning, quote, "I have friends who will end your existence," and, quote, "I know who you are, and I will take a shotgun to your looser-ass face." I think she meant loser, but spelled it with 2 O's. Common mistake. Anyhow, when confronted about this, Baldino's excuse was, and I'm quoting here, "That's just what girls do."
Excuse me?
Is it?
Is it? Oh, no,
She was
never met
arrested on
someone
a
that
pair
does
of
that.
felony counts and booked into the Pinellas County Jail on $20,000 bond. She was free on bond in an earlier case charging her with DUI and unlawful possession of nitrous oxide. So she's an interesting one. Apparently, that's what girls do. They just send you text threatening to kill you at 3 in the morning. All righty then. What's your story today?
Yes, I don't know how it just took until the 13th and 14th of July for this story to come out. We're going to St. Johns County, Florida, where a passenger was caught on camera by the sheriff's office helicopter launching fireworks at passing cars on Interstate 95 in St. George's County back on July 4th. In a video posted by the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, fireworks can be seen flying from the vehicle and landing in the median and the incoming lanes of the highway, narrowly missing another vehicle. The pilot can be heard describing the vehicle pulling a boat southbound on I-95. Quote, "They appear to be shooting fireworks out of the window at cars on the interstate," the pilot said. "We've got it on camera, but it looks like it was a mortar style. When deputies pulled the vehicle over, the man inside denied shooting fireworks from the car. The interaction was captured on body cam, and the interaction goes, this vehicle was seen launching fireworks out of the passenger side of the window, or passenger side of the vehicle, and the driver responded, 'No, not us.' Unfortunately, it was captured by our air unit," the deputy said. "No, man. No, not us." "Not this car," the deputy replied. After a few minutes, the deputy asked if anyone had told the men how their vehicle had been identified. They said no. The deputy said, "You see that little flashy dot pointing at the night sky? Yeah, it's a drone." "No, that's a helicopter," the deputy replied. who's been following you for the past 10 miles, shooting stuff out of the car, you're going to stick with that story? Let's be real. It's on recording. The passenger was arrested and charged with shooting a deadly missile from a vehicle. Yeah, so they were just having fun on July 4th.
Guys being dudes.
Yeah.
We have, that's just what girls do, and we definitely have, because let's be honest, this was some dudes.
Yeah.
This was guys shooting fireworks out of their car, thinking that was cool, thinking that would just be a fun way to startle people and celebrate America 250. And then when they get pulled over, be like, nah, man, you must have a different car.
I'm just astonished this took 10 days to get out.
That's pretty good. Pretty good story.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to go with that over the woman sending death threats to exes at 3 a.m. and being like, well, just being a girl, that's all. You know how us girls are. Unbelievable.
God.
Yeah, we'll go with the guy shooting fireworks out their vehicle. I don't think that beats the party foul, though.
No.
Again, sometimes the best stories are the ones that you can sum up in the simplest fashion. Party bus driver gets drunk and crashes into a house. I mean,
while the bus driver also was on a revoked license or suspended license, too. Forgot to add that part in.
beautiful in its simplicity. That's going to continue on as our What Is Wrong With You winner. When we come back, it's Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain, Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. And I did not imagine, Michael, that we would start this segment by not talking football. We're going to get to some Big 12 Media Days leftovers here in just a little bit. But we got to start with Mihailo Mushikic, I think is how you say this young man's name. Another big man to Bill Self's roster from overseas, but is he going to make it to eligibility? How confident should the Jayhawks be that Mushikic can even suit up for them this winter?
Yeah, it's the NCAA, man. Who knows? Who knows? The interesting part about this whole eligibility discussion, so obviously he's played professional basketball for roughly kind of 5 years. He made his professional debut, so not for a youth team, like not an under-19 team. back in 2020, 2021. So we're talking multiple years of professional experience. And the interesting part about this is that due to his birthday, he would not technically be eligible in the new 5-for-5 rules that are coming out. Now, athletes who are enrolling this summer for this next academic year can pick if they want to use the old rules or the new rules. So he'll obviously pick the older rules and hope the NCAA gives him a year, 2 years, or whatever. So what the NCAA does in that instance is they look back and they look at how much money have you made professionally, and then how many years have you played. So, for example, like Paul Mbia, KU needs to clarify with Paul for sure, but I do believe he may have been a sophomore technically last year, and I think he might technically be a junior this year, just based on the actual eligibility. KU listed him as a freshman last year, but they can kind of go based off of your professional experience. So it's not a slam dunk that he's going to be eligible, but it's one of those where I think there's a good enough case to be made. I think just because he hasn't made a ton of money, it's a little bit different than like a Bryce Desert last summer, where KU was obviously interested in him. I think KU would have gotten him, but he had made too much money playing in France, playing high level in France. Whereas, you look at what Musikic has done, and it's a little bit lower of a level in Serbia, playing kind of the Serbian domestic division, not like this regional ABA that Nikola Jokic came from. So long. But it's one of those where I think there's an argument to be made that he can be eligible, but I'm not expecting this to be he comes to Kansas and is eligible for 4 years. I think it might be a 1 year thing, maybe 2.
Is this additive, do you think, to the roster, or is this maybe not an encouraging sign for Christian Reeves's progress from his shoulder surgery, and there's some maybe concern about his availability this year for Kansas, or is there nothing to read into Reeves's recovery vis-a-vis this signing?
Yeah, so I think this was more of a lever that was pulled when Reeves had the surgery, right? That's when KU really started to realize, like, okay, yeah, we got to go get another big man. Just because of the recovery timetable, right? We're talking about early October is when Reeves will be back or expect to be back in full practice. That gives you about a month of work before the season starts. It's not terrible, but it's far from ideal. And I think as soon as the surgery was kind of like, okay, this has to happen, I think that's when KU started to realize, okay, we got to look. Obviously, they looked at Malik Ewan from Arkansas. I think that ship has sailed, and that's where you kind of land on someone like this. It's a question I've gotten before, right? Like, okay, how good is this guy? And I give a pretty honest answer. I have no idea. I watched the tape. He moves pretty well. I mean, he's 7 foot. And even if he's 6'11", like, he moves really well for someone of his size. He's got decent touch, can kind of shoot it. 30% first career from 3, so not awful. But how does that translate to playing in the Big 12, playing at Kansas? I have no idea. I have no idea how good he is. So that's the interesting part about this, is where I think it's going to be a little bit of a wild card for KU. And, the center spot has just kind of turned into one big old wild card. You have no idea how it's going to turn out. Like, I wrote something today about who could lead KU in rebounding, like top 3. And it's like I put Christian Reeves because I think if he's healthy, I think he'll play 23 minutes a game. And then Paul Mbia and, you look at what Musikic could offer you in terms of minutes. Like, I think they'll wrap up the minutes from there. But who knows? Like, for all you know, this kid could be really, really good, and it's a great evaluation. And we're sitting here, 9 months from now talking about, man, what a great job KU did identifying this guy internationally. Or he could just end up being a practice player, and he ends up helping KU that way, and it's Paul Mbia, Christian Reeves, Keanu Dawes rotation center spot. So it really it's additive, right? He helps. You needed someone else, especially with Reeves' injury stuff going on, but it's just hard to say exactly how additive it's going to be when it's just so impossible to say just how good he is.
We're talking to Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael, let's pivot back to football. You and I got together at Big 12 Football Media Days a week ago today, and we had not heard when we spoke last week from the Kansas contingent. They all spoke on Wednesday. Lance Leipold and the 5 players who made the trip from Lawrence to represent the Jayhawks. If there was a theme overall that you heard emerging from your conversations with, or the breakout sessions of, or the press conference of Lance Leipold down there in Frisco, what did you sense was the overarching theme that you heard or you sensed from the Jayhawks at this point in the offseason?
Yeah, depth, I think, is the big talking point for Leipold. I think for folks that really do enjoy listening to the press conferences, you might be, by the end of camp, you might be tired of it, because I think that's just going to be something they're going to hammer home on, is that, when you talk about this roster, Leipold really just likes the depth. And you can look across the board at certain positions, right? Safety, you go from last year, you have Taylor Davis and Lyric Rawls basically as your only 2 trusted safeties. You kind of had Mason Ellis, but he got hurt. You had the Dye brothers, but they really weren't actually trusted because they didn't play when it meant something. To now this year, you look at it, and you got Jaden Harris, who started for Miami. He's competing with Taylor Davis, who started at KU last year. You've got someone like Corey Gordon, who started at Baylor and started at Louisville and is now most likely potentially going to start at Kansas. You've got someone like Keyshawn Cummings-Coleman, right, in that kind of nickel or field safety role, where last year at Iowa State, the people I talked to up in Ames, they loved him. They thought he was going to be a great player. Not quite maybe Penn State level, so he didn't go that way, and staying close to home was really important to him, so KU gets him. So you can look at safety. I think it's the best example of how this depth has progressed. And obviously you could talk about linebacker, you talk about running back, you talk about offensive line. There are a lot of positions that have a lot of depth. And this is going to be a grueling season. 9 straight weeks of football with a lot more road games than home games. You're going to need to lean on your depth. And I think Leipold right now is sending out those signals that, we feel good about the depth we have. And I think in camp it's going to be really interesting to see how you translate what looks like on paper depth to actual on-field packages that work together and have kind of a symbiotic relationship.
Is it fair to call the quarterback spot the biggest concern, in the sense that nobody has quite separated, nobody took the opportunity in the spring to separate at the quarterback spot? Is that fair to say that's the biggest concern for Kansas at this stage as they get ready to resume with fall camp coming up here in a little bit?
Yeah, 100%, right? You're talking about the most important position, arguably in sports, and you don't know what you're going to get. And that's just the backs, right? When was the last time we saw Cole Ballard start a game? 2023? A while ago. And I think he's gotten better since then, but still, it's a long time. Isaiah Marshall's not thrown a pass against a Power 4 team. These are big-time question marks at, again, the most important position in sports. So I think it's impossible to say any other position is as big of a question mark as the quarterback one. And that's what's going to make, I think, the start of this season so fascinating, right? They're going to go through camp. They're going to pick the guy that's most consistent. I think regardless, both quarterbacks are going to play, especially if Cole Ballard wins the job. Isaiah Marshall is going to play. He is one of the best athletes on the team. You're not putting that guy on the bench with a headset on for 60 minutes of a game. You're going to find the way to get that guy the ball and make a difference with him at times during a game. So I'm really interested to see how that balance is struck. Obviously, there's the old quarterback saying, right? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. And you need to avoid that type of situation, right, where you're flip-flopping and doing all that stuff. But I think this is going to be the position that determines just how good KU is. If KU gets average quarterback play, like Big 12 average quarterback play, I think KU can make a bowl game, right? But it's just a question of, is that super realistic when you're talking about 2 first-year starters? I don't know, because we just haven't seen them.
Is there a position group, or maybe that's too narrow, but maybe a side of the ball that, in talking to the players, in talking to Lance Leipold, and obviously talking season is optimism season as a whole, but is there maybe a position or a side of things where you get the sense that the guys and the coaches might be really confident in what they've assembled depth-wise and top of the depth chart talent level-wise on this year's roster?
Yeah, I think running back is it. And I'll say this, shout out Neil Brown for, I think it was a couple of years ago, when he was like, we got picked dead to last. I mean, I really can't argue with it. And you're just like, oh my God, whoa, dude. This is optimism season. What are we doing here? Yeah, so I think running back is the one to look at, right? Like, you have a dynamic talent in Dylan Edwards. And if it works out, I mean, he could be an all Big 12 level running back, because just the way he can break a game open. And with Andy Kotelnicki kind of scheming things up, you feel pretty good about his ability to get the ball in space and make guys miss and make chunk games. And then you can look down the depth chart. You got someone like Yasin Willis coming from Syracuse, who was a really good rusher between the tackles last year. I believe it was like 6 yards per carry between the tackles, maybe even 5. But when you're talking about, right, more condensed boxes, condensed areas, having that much efficiency running in that area, that's a big deal. Jalen Dupree coming from Colorado State. He didn't participate in spring football because of an off-season surgery, but he had production last year. You can go to Corey Mockery as a true freshman. I mean, KU's so high on what he could be, and you're talking about him maybe being your 4th running back. Like, I mean, that's a really good room. And then there's obviously maybe a little bit of a injury concern with Justin Thurman, who tore his Achilles last November. I think still recovering from that. So we'll have to see kind of what he's able to do this season. But I think running back is like the position where you look at and you say, you got the top end talent and someone like Dylan Edwards. You've got your kind of proven production players in Willis and Dupree, and you've kind of got a wild card there in Corey and what he got to offer you. So I think that's a position you got to feel really, really good about.
Is the hope maybe that ability of those guys to create explosive plays on the ground and be consistent on the ground is the pressure release valve for whoever the quarterback ends up being, and maybe takes a little bit of pressure off of the eventual starting signal caller?
Yeah, I think, obviously it's the cliche about complimentary football. KU, with questions at quarterback, you need your run game to be up to the level. And I think that's what you're going to see. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit more of I don't want to say 2022 because it's so long ago and things have changed. But in terms of, like, you're leaning on your 2 top running backs, which at that point, right, you remember Daniel Highshaw had better production than Devin Neal until the Duke game when he dislocated his hip again. And then from there, Devin obviously took over and the rest is history. But like early in that year, you had 2 dynamic running backs who both were putting up huge numbers. I think that's the type of thing you're going to look for, and then build some of that quarterback option game off of that, where then you can get back into some of that, not triple option necessarily, but just confusing dynamic football where the defense doesn't know who's going to have it, where someone's going to go, and what you're going to line up in. And I think that's going to be the biggest key for KU, especially early in the year, because as we've seen, teams in the Big 12, right, there are some very good defensive coordinators in the league, and they will latch on to what you show in the first 6 weeks of the season and make sure that is not something that shows up later in the year. And that's where kind of the coaching chess pieces, that's where that's going to be a huge part of this season and the storyline for KU.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Phog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber today before football season gets here so you can read all of Michael's inside info. He joins us every Tuesday on the program for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. That was great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk, right after this. .456 on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Michael Swain for joining us on the show for Jayhawk Weekly. Continuing our countdown to Chiefs kickoff, we are 62 days away from the Chiefs and the Broncos on Monday night at Arrowhead Stadium for the start of the 2026 Chiefs season. Number 62 on the current Chiefs roster is a young man named Josh Thompson, a UDFA offensive guard who started 12 games last season for LSU and previously played college football for 4 years at Northwestern. And I cannot imagine much more of a culture shock than doing 4 years at Northwestern and then deciding, I'm going to go to Baton Rouge. Salute, Josh Thompson. You got the full spectrum. You got the nerd school of nerd schools in the Big Ten, and you went to LSU for a year to play football. You played in an erector set stadium on the lake, and then you went and played at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. That is awesome. What a journey. I almost want to interview Josh Thompson just to find out. Man, like, what was that like? It'd be fascinating to get his perspective on that. Anyway, that's all I've got on him. 62 days to Chiefs kickoff. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Random Question Tuesday. We'll talk Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and we'll give away another family 4-pack to TBT basketball at Lee Arena next Wednesday between the KU and K-State alumni on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour on 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, hanging with you for one more hour on this Tuesday. No Royals baseball tonight. The All-Star game is tonight, televised on Fox. Then 2 days of desert, sports desert. I guess that's not entirely fair. You know, World Cup semifinal tomorrow. You get Open Championship starts Thursday. But, like, as far as the four majors, desert. Don't give me Summer League. Although you're probably pretty cranked up. Your Wizards looking good in the Summer League. AJ DeBonta looks good.
He looks good, but him, Will Riley, and Trey Johnson have all been shut down for the rest of the Summer League.
So
I've stopped watching.
No point in firing up Prime Video tonight as they take on the Bulls down in Vegas.
I turned on Utah Jazz the other night. They were playing.
Okay.
And DP was in street clothes.
Yeah, they shut him down too.
So, there's no point now unless you got, somebody you're rooting for, an underdog story. I might watch the Lakers because they got old Johnny Buckets, John Elmore, the oldest man in the Summer League.
Oh.
Former Marshall great.
Yeah, the name is familiar.
Yes.
The name is familiar.
He has scored a lot of points against Wichita State in that 2018
Yes, he did.
NCAA
I
tournament.
was in...
From the hash.
Brendan and I were underneath the building at... We were in Wichita. We were at Trust Bank Arena watching that game. And watching Wichita State lose that game. Anyhow, we've got one more hour to hang out together. We will talk a little bit about tonight's All-Star game, give you starting lineups, some thoughts on the Midsummer Classic that's coming up. We've also got Random Question Tuesday coming up today.
I've got a good one for that.
Good. We might throw it open to the text line. You know what? We'll take some random questions from the listeners today.
I have a random question that I want the listeners to answer as well.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely do
not
that.
just for you. I want audience, listener, viewer participation.
We will have audience participation today on Random Question Tuesday. We'll take a few questions. If you want to get them in the live chat at 580 Sports Talk on YouTube or on the text line, 785-272-9429. Feel free, and we'll get to them on Random Question Tuesday. We've got headlines as well, including a World Cup roundup, all that fun stuff as well. Like I said, just ran through the ways that you can interact with us in this final hour of the show. Text us. Don't text and drive, but text the program, 785-272-9429. You can also hop in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Go subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything but a click or a tap of your screen. And interact with your fellow listeners. Say hi to the gang. They were talking about military artillery, tanks and such. Very dad-coded conversation going on in the YouTube chat today. So pop on in, say hello, and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community in our live chat on YouTube. We got a lot of headlines today, so let's go ahead and hop into those. Got to start. The Royals are wheeling and dealing. The Kansas City Royals made a trade today. They have acquired right-handed pitcher Easton McGee from the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for cash considerations. Easton McGee's ERA this season with the Brewers is 0.00.
Well,
2 scoreless innings.
I was going to say.
2 scoreless innings in 2 appearances. He has appeared with 3 different major league teams over the last 5 seasons in a total of 13 games. This is a great Immaculate Grid player, folks. You play the Immaculate Grid. 1 game with the Rays, 3 innings in 2022. 1 game with the Mariners, a start in 2023, 6 2/3 innings. 6 2/3 shutout innings, and they decided still that they had seen enough. Then didn't appear in a big league game in 2024. 9 appearances with Milwaukee last year, 2 appearances with the Brewers this year. Royals acquiring him for some cash. Former first-round pick out of a Kentucky high school by Tampa Bay back in 2016. And the big right-hander, 28 years old, 6'7", 222 pounds, will make his way over to the 40-man roster of the Royals after being designated for assignment by the Brewers. To clear the space on the 40-man roster, the Royals have moved Nick Mears to the 60-day IL. He had previously been on the 15-day IL. Mears hasn't appeared in a game since May 27th, so all this means is we aren't going to see him before July 27th.
I don't hate this.
Look,
it's pitching. It's unproven pitching. But
you have a problem.
Yeah.
You have a problem. You don't have enough good pitchers. How do you solve that problem? Throw arms at it.
That's what my Nationals are doing. They are picking up people on waivers and then cutting them and then putting them down in AAA and then bringing them up for a game and then DFAing them if they're bad. Like you have a process in the season when you're not trying to trade multiple players or the Royals aren't in position to make any moves like that. So
yeah,
if you're going to throw some cash away for a guy who's maybe unproven but could prove that he could be good, I mean, it's been seen this year across the league. I mean, the Nationals threw cash at Foster Griffin, former Royal, who couldn't stay in the big leagues and he's injury replacement in the All-Star game.
So McGee just could not crack the crowded Brewer bullpen. Brewers maybe have the best bullpen in the National League. So him having been a yo-yo guy for them this year is maybe not as much of a knock as it would be if he bouncing back and forth in the minor leagues in a lesser organization or an organization with less pitching depth. He's going to get an opportunity in Kansas City. I would be surprised to see him called up sooner rather than later. But yeah, you just have to try something new because the guys you have in your organization, they are not cutting it. So the Royals do make a move today and add to their 40-man roster. It's really, like you kind of alluded, Spencer, it's the kind of move that they can't make much of a bigger splash than this. But it's frustrating, too, when you remember that the Royals have been really quick to give up on guys, to give up on relievers. You know, they get guys up through the minor leagues, they get into the big leagues, and you get them for like a little bit, and then they might have a bad outing, and the Royals decide, all right, yeah, we're done with this guy. Like Eric Sarantola. He had that outing where he walked 6 guys, and now he's not on the team anymore. They designated him for assignment not long after that, and now he's turned up in the Giants organization. But whether it works out for him in the big leagues or not, the Royals cut bait with him immediately. They gave him a very short cameo, and then they decided he wasn't worth their while, and they moved on. And they haven't always had the best judgment when it comes to doing that with relievers. Look at what Evan Sisk is doing in Pittsburgh this year. A guy they were willing to give away to get Bailey Falter last year. Will Klein having a pretty nice career with the Dodgers. Sometimes multiple teams give up on a reliever before it clicks, but Will Klein was in the Lucas Erceg trade. Right now, Will Klein's better than Lucas Erceg. A lot better. So, and has a World Series ring. So that's the frustrating part of this, is that the Royals have put themselves in position because they haven't been able to develop their own cost-controlled, cheap relief help. You don't want to be paying for bullpen guys or having to trade even cash assets for bullpen guys. You want to be able to – you should be able to have developed your own guys who can pitch to a 5.92 ERA like Alex Lang or a 7.18 ERA like Matt Strom. Like you should have your own guys who cost substantially less than and they're not paying a lot like relatively for Lang or Strom, but like you should have been able to develop your own guys or hung on to your own guys to be able to do that. And the fact that the Royals haven't done that it's a demerit for sure. It's a part of the explanation as to how they've gotten to where they've gotten. Anyway, next headline, Spencer.
Yeah, I'll just give you both. It appears both are finalized, both rosters are finalized, but two Washburn players are on the TBT roster for JHX Hoops, the KU alumni team. We knew one prior being Jacob Hanna, the other Andrew Orr. They'll get a chance to play back on the Washburn floor one more time, at least, I guess. I don't know what would happen if JHX Hoops moves on.
They go to Vegas, I think.
I don't know if they would take on Wichita State's alumni team. I don't know how that would work.
I guess I don't either.
But it appears the roster's been finalized for JHX Hoops. Marcus Garrett, Frank Mason, Zeke Mayo is going to be on the team. Tyshawn Taylor, Kevin Young, Darnell Jackson, and Carlton Bragg Jr. are all the KU alums on the team. And then I just mentioned Jacob Hanna, Andrew Orr. Who else is here?
It looks like Tradeon Hollins. I think
Tradeon Hollins.
He's an Omaha kid. Omaha Central High School, maybe. But
he went to Omaha.
Oh, yeah, went to UNO, yeah.
DJ Burns.
Not that one.
Who went to Southern University and A&M College, Murray State, and Youngstown State, playing in Canada.
Well traveled.
Also, I'll just give you the Purple Rain roster
Go
as well.
Go for it.
Michael Beasley,
Cardi Ajada,
Jacob Poole, who said that yesterday.
Dejuan Gordon. Dejuan. This guy's the funky one, yeah.
Austin Trice, Sean Williams, Xavier Sneed. Those are the K-State alums with other players on the team, including Tante Robinson, who went to Pinello College and plays at about a Billions basketball. I don't know what that is. Georgia alum John Florvius, who played in Bulgaria. And let's see, I think there's one more. Yeah, one more guy, Brandon Childress, who played at Wake Forest and plays in Turkey, or last played basketball professionally in Turkey.
So Tyante Robertson played in the TBT last year for About Billions basketball. That was Adrian, the boxer Adrian Broner. You familiar with him?
Okay, yes.
He's the guy from the. I'm not going to lie, I'm getting cooked. He's the guy from that meme.
Yes.
He's the if you know Adrian, if you're not a boxing fan, that's what you've seen Adrian Broner in. He's in the I'm getting cooked meme.
Yeah.
That was his team in the event.
Sharon Collins will be the JHX Hoops head coach, and Purple Rain's head coach will be Lance Harris. I don't know if he has any relation to K-State.
We've got Martavius Irving as an assistant coach. Jordan Henriquez Roberts is a GM and owner. Clint Stewart's an assistant coach. Some more former K-State connections to the Purple Rain roster. Again, Purple Rain and JHX Hoops play Tuesday night at Bramlage Coliseum. That's game 1 of the best of 3. Game 2 is at Lee Arena on Wednesday night, July 22nd. We've got tickets to that. We're going to be giving away throughout the week. We've already given away a few family 4-packs to the event. We're giving away another family 4-pack before we're done today. So be listening for your cue to call. We'll give you 4 tickets to go see the TBT, KU alum, K-State alum teams in action at Lee Arena at Washburn.
That means 8 tickets we would have given away today, right? You gave away a 4-pack earlier?
I gave away a 4-pack earlier. I gave away a 4-pack yesterday. Going to give away another 4-pack today. I'm feeling very generous. I got lots of tickets to give away. I'm feeling very generous.
There we go.
I'm in a generous mood. Next headline. Let's get to some more sniping between Major League Baseball and the Players Association. What a time for that when the game is supposed to be being celebrated on the week of the All-Star Game. So here's what's in dispute today. Major League Baseball is okay with its players participating in the 2028 Summer Olympics. Baseball has not been an Olympic sport since, gosh.
08?
maybe even before that. It's been a while. It's been a while. Baseball and softball, the bat and ball sports, both left the Olympics some years back. It's been a while. But baseball will be a demonstration sport in the 2028 Olympics. There will be 6 teams that participate in the tournament. It is scheduled to be played.
Was the last year.
It was 08. So, yeah, it'll have been 20 years when the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympics arrive. And the plan is for a 6-team tournament to be played at Dodger Stadium, and Major League Baseball is all in. They are planning to shut down Major League Baseball for 11 days to accommodate an all-star game on the West Coast, and then the 6-team international tournament scheduled to be played at Dodger Stadium. The United States, the Dominican Republic, and Venezuela have already qualified, so the desire for and from big league players to compete in the Olympics has grown. However, the Players Association is not 100% all in, and there are some logistical issues, hotel rooms, tickets, insurance, things like that you can, iron out behind the scenes. But the big sticking point is that Major League Baseball wants to make players play in this tournament.
Yikes.
The mandatory participation agreement proposed by the league would place players who run afoul of requirements on the restricted list for nearly a month, from July 12th to August 3rd. So you can understand why Major League Baseball would want to mandate participation. You want to get all the biggest stars. If you're going to shut down your league for a 2-week window, roughly, you want to make sure Shohei Ohtani is playing in the Olympics, or Aaron Judge is playing in the Olympics, or the biggest stars in the game are playing in the Olympics. But Major League Baseball's players strongly oppose a deal that would require compulsory involvement and also allow placement on the restricted list for basically refusing to play. If you say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do it. If you're Aaron Judge 2 years from now, I'm in the back end of my career. I'm 30-something. I'd rather try and win a World Series and an Olympic gold. I've done the World Baseball Classic. I've done all that, but I just don't think it's my responsibility to play in the Olympics. I'm going to step aside, going to let somebody younger play in the Olympics. Rob Manfred could say, okay, boom, you're on the restricted list for 3.5 weeks. And that means you don't accrue service time. You don't get paid. And when the league resumes, you wouldn't be eligible to play. And that is a ridiculous gun to hold at the head of major league players. Absolutely absurd. Like, would it be really cool for a true best-on-best baseball tournament in the middle of the summer? Yes. Yes, it's the stuff of dreams. It's the stuff of fantasies. But you can't make the players do it, man. And you especially can't make them do it and then punish them with loss of service time, loss of pay if they don't. So this is a long way from being resolved, just like every dispute between the league and the Players Association. You may be aware that the collective bargaining agreement expires December 1st, and it is widely expected that a lockout will follow. If you have watched baseball on television or watched it on the MLB app, you have surely noticed an advertising campaign that Major League Baseball is running, the Level the Field advertising campaign that basically says, come on, let us have a salary cap. We know you want it. Give us a salary cap. And the Major League Baseball Players Association, as you can imagine, not real thrilled about the propaganda machine. This is a quote from Bruce Meyer, the interim executive director of the MLBPA. I have watched over the last few years the owners, the commissioner's office try to convince fans, the consumers of their product, that the product is broken. I think it's perverse. Case in point is leading up to this All-Star game. Any of us who watch baseball are seeing ads, not so much for the All-Star game, not promoting the game, not promoting the players, but promoting the league's desire for a salary cap. So, again, you get really into the weeds with this, but Major League Baseball, one of their latest arguments is, well, without a salary cap, small market teams can't keep their best players. How long Bob Witt Jr. under contract for?
Till
for the Royals
2030.
through 2030 before an opt-out.
Yeah.
Royals signed him to that contract. They have a problem signing him to that contract. He signed on the dotted line. He's going to be a Royal through the best years of his career. And with 6 years of guaranteed service time, pre-arbitration, arbitration, most teams in the current system keep their best young talent through their best years.
Just like the St. Louis Cardinals just signed their
J.J.
rookie
Weatherholt.
shortstop, J.J. Weatherholt.
St. Louis, a big market?
No.
Milwaukee. They got Jackson Churio locked up long term. Milwaukee's never had a young star that they had to give away because, we just can't afford him. Christian Yelich has been there basically his whole career after they traded for him. They've been able to re-sign him. They've got all kinds of long-term extensions for players. It's ridiculous. Like, again, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but if you side with the owners in this particular dispute, you're wrong. You're wrong. You should side with labor on this. Generally, good idea in labor versus ownership disputes. Side with labor, because at the end of the day, we're all labor, or we've all been labor. But nah, man, the labor's on the right side of this one, and baseball's acting real foul with that advertising campaign. That's gross to run propaganda explaining why you're going to shut down baseball. We got to have the salary cap. Our owners aren't rich enough, guys. It's pathetic. All right, you got one more headline before we get to a World Cup roundup?
Yes, I do. We've got more lawsuits coming to the NCAA. A group of 11 athletes have challenged the new NCAA rules in another lawsuit. Federal class action lawsuit in its new eligibility rules. 11 D1 athletes, including Division I basketball standouts Cade Tyson and Brock Wisney, have filed a federal class action lawsuit in Colorado that alleges the NCAA's new eligibility rules have adversely affected their ability to attend.
Please make that.
To attend their college career, extend their college careers, and the NIL benefits attached to that opportunity. The NCAA recently announced that it's going to grant all athletes 5 years to compete, but did not grant athletes who exhausted their eligibility this past season, or this past season, 25-26 additional season. If successful, that federal lawsuit could essentially nullify the NCAA's new eligibility rules for a massive pool of athletes across all sports who would then be allowed to enter the transfer portal and extend their college careers when they could, go out and get a job. Because what does the NCAA say?
Going pro in something other than sports.
Yes.
Cade Tyson scored about 20 a game for Minnesota last year, and Brock Wisney averaged 16 a game at Northern Colorado. But both of them played 4 seasons. Cade Tyson transferred twice. Played his first 2 years at Belmont. He played his junior year at North Carolina. He played his senior year at Minnesota. Wisney never transferred. He played all 4 years up in Greeley, Colorado at that UNC, Northern Colorado.
Well, they can go play professional overseas like everybody else that's exhausted their eligibility if you want to still play basketball.
Yeah, man. I understand that line of thinking. I really do. At the same time, yeah, if they're a year too late to benefit from this rule, that's tough. But, sometimes that's how it works. Sometimes you don't get grandfathered in. Sometimes that's just how things change. Like, where do you draw the line? Is it only players that played 4-4 and finished last year? Is it only those players that should get relief? What if somebody played 10 years ago and had 4-4 and they're 32 and they want to get back out there and play an extra year of college basketball? Where do you draw the line? At some point, you got to draw the line somewhere, right?
Look, I have a bank account at a bank, BB&T Bank. They merged with SunTrust, and SunTrust has agreements that you have to have a certain amount of money in each of your accounts to hold it open. Well, guess what? I was a BB&T customer, and I didn't have that. Well, guess what? You don't get grandfathered in. Not all grandfather things happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's the world. Not everything's fair.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Let's wrap up this headline segment with a World Cup roundup.
Open wide for some soccer!
We're almost done, man. We're down to 3 matches left, and one of them is the third place match. So we've only got a few of these World Cup roundups left. Spain is into the final of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, a comprehensive 2-0 win over France, who had looked like the best team in the tournament coming into play today. But this one was all Spain. They totally dominated the match. Michael Oyarzabal scored a penalty in the 22nd minute after Lamine Yamal, Spain's best player, was brought down in the penalty area, and Spain would double their lead in the second half. Pedro Porro scoring in the 58th minute. So Spain, who has won one World Cup in their history back in 2010, will try and make it two. They will play either England or Argentina in Sunday's final. France will play in the third-place match. They do a third-place match in the World Cup. It's going to be
like Keisha basketball.
It's going to be France, who's played in the last two finals and doesn't want anything to do with this match, against the loser between England and Argentina, longtime international soccer rivalry, and also like geopolitical rivalry. Shout out to the Falklands. That team isn't going to want to be in a third-place match, and they're going to play on Saturday in Miami at 4 o'clock in the evening. That sounds like the least fun you could possibly have. Run around in the heat in Miami in mid-July in the late afternoon for third place. Man, put me on a plane.
Just hope it storms all day.
I can't imagine anybody would want to be anywhere less than a third-place game in Miami in mid-June in the afternoon, or mid-July in the afternoon. That just sounds miserable. Meanwhile, Spain will await the winner between England and Argentina. That match is tomorrow. Got to say I'm surprised, but watching the match, not surprised. Spain was so much better. Spain was so much more organized, and defensively, the best defense is making sure the other team can't have the ball. And Spain, when Spain is at their best, they have the ball, and you can't get it off of them. And there's nothing you can do about it. They play keep away better than anyone. And that can be very frustrating to watch. Maybe not always the most exciting thing to watch, but brutally effective as it was today. Spain into the final of the World Cup. That's your World Cup roundup. When we come back, let's do a little Random Question Tuesday, shall we? We'll take some questions from the listeners, 785-272-9429, or in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. But before we get to this timeout, remember that number, 785-272-9429? If you're caller number 3 to that number, I'm going to give you a 4-pack of tickets to see the TBT, the basketball tournament, the KU versus K-State alumni game at Lee Arena at Washburn next Wednesday night. I've got a 4-pack of tickets to caller number 3 right now as we go to break here on 580 Sports Talk. 5:35 on 580 Sports Talk, and it's a Tuesday. So it's time for Random Question Tuesday. That's simple.
Yeah.
All right, Spencer, you have a random question for me and for the listeners.
Yes.
So please share it with us.
So this applies to people with significant others. What is your favorite thing to do when your significant other goes out of town? Because my favorite is sleeping in the middle of the bed. Because I wake up every morning falling off the bed.
Okay.
I'm like an edge sleeper naturally. I'm warm. I'm a warm body. So if I'm really close to my girlfriend, I get really warm. So then I move away. Well, then I move away and about fall off the bed. So I've been looking forward to having the bed to myself for quite a few weeks.
That might be my wife's answer to that question. What she enjoys best when I'm gone or out of town, because my wife really doesn't leave town. I don't think she's gone anywhere overnight since probably even since we've lived together. I don't think because I got basically 2 trips every year. I get state basketball, I'm out of town, and Big 12 media days, I'm out of town. That's pretty much it. And then everything else we go together. My wife is a teacher and doesn't really do the conference type thing or anything like that. So I'm always out. My wife is usually always around. So I don't really have an answer to that question because my wife's always home, and that's fine with me. I'm glad that she's always home. I like going home to her and hanging out with her and watching TV. We're working on 4 seasons right now on Netflix.
That is great. We finished that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we're in season 1, so no spoilers. But
they're coming out with another season.
Yeah, they're doing 3rd season. I think it's very funny, very nice. 30 minutes, low stakes, makes us laugh. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. But anyway, but my answer would be twofold. It would be playing PlayStation guilt-free and eating garbage. That I think is what you look forward to. I think that's an answer for a lot of men.
Yeah,
is, playing video games without any judgment and eating like a raccoon.
My on the reverse side of that is shows, right? Like not watching the shows that we talked about watching, or I got nothing to do on Saturday night, so I'm going to watch a movie.
Sure.
Well, I have to pick a movie specifically that it's oh, I don't want to watch that. Oh, no, I don't want to watch that. So I can watch it.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Quarterback came out today.
Sure.
With my guy, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I am going to be watching that.
Good.
Yeah, because, free time there.
Guilt-free.
Yes.
Guilt-free. Let's get to some questions from listeners. These are actual questions from actual listeners. I always get a kick out of when podcasts or something say that. So I always wanted to say that. Nah, I just did. These are actual questions from actual listeners. From the text line, from the 785. What are the chances of adding Sporting Kansas City coverage in the future? Let me tell you this, friend. If they sign Mo Salah, we will be all Sporting Kansas City all the time on 580 Sports.
Do they have radio broadcasts?
They do. I think they have a radio flagship in Kansas City.
Oh, I didn't know.
I honestly don't know. So, yeah, play-by-play coverage, probably a non-starter. We got the Royals during the same season and all that other play-by-play stuff that we do on the air. But as far as, talking about them on the show, if they sign the Egyptian King, my favorite soccer player of all time, because I'm a Liverpool guy, we will be all Sporting KC all the time on this show. We will do whatever it takes to get Mo Salah on the show. I think the chances of that actually happening are between 0 and 0%. But that report did get floated out there. If for whatever reason Mo Salah doesn't take gazillions of dollars from the Saudi League, Sporting Kansas City might sign him. And I'm okay. Please, but also, not buying it. But, no, the actual answer to that question is we used to do it when they were a perennial playoff team. We had a guest on every now and again to talk Sporting Kansas City with us. And, they just haven't really been good in a while. And we've dropped the rope a little bit. But we'll pick that rope back up when Sporting Kansas City picks that rope back up. No question about it. They win, and we'll win with some coverage. Let's get to some of these random questions real quick from the live chat on YouTube. Some of these are pretty wild. Mark H. wants to know, Spencer, how's the AC on your car holding up?
Oh, amazing. Best part about remote start with a car is making sure your AC is on.
Oh, sure.
So it just blows, like you're walking out and you just turn it on and the AC blows for like a minute before you get in. The best.
Mark B. wants to know, Spencer, what's been the easiest and the toughest parts about becoming a part-time ag broadcaster?
Learning what all of it means and how the words in which they're, like, the terminology.
Sure.
Because I just think of, like, farming as, like getting on a tractor and a grain truck and whatever. Not like the nitty-gritty stuff. And the other worst part is missing an hour of the show. But it's got to be done. So.
Who else had a question for you? Vance had a question for you. Have you and Olivia been to the Kansas Museum of History yet?
No, is that the one...
That just reopened.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that would be why.
Other side of 70,
thinking about going. I remember seeing something about it, and then I saw, closed.
Yeah, I
couldn't go.
I haven't been either.
Yeah.
And I want to, but haven't been yet. And Asher is more at Discovery Center age than Museum of History age, but, soon, hopefully. Mark B. wants to know what eatery I miss most in the Denver area. Gosh, I give you too many Mexican joints to mention. Los Chingones, Mr. Oso, La Cueva. What's the one down? De Corazon. And then every time I talk to my parents, they're always telling me, "Oh, we tried this new Mexican place." And they're like, "Oh, we have to take you." And I'm like 20 restaurants behind.
Yeah,
I don't get out there often enough.
Are we gonna go and just go to a restaurant every meal, because that's gonna be costly?
Yeah, it's tough. And then my mom's such a good cook and likes to cook for my wife and I and our son when we go out there. But yes, I do feel like, man, you're talking up these Mexican places. Like, I gotta go, man. I gotta get out there and get some good Mexican food out there.
It's okay.
In that direction.
I see like my sister and my parents going out to restaurants, and I'm like, oh, it's a new one. Haven't been there.
Mark,
can I go there? Oh, no. We'll be going somewhere else when I go home.
Mark H. wants to know if I'm a kite guy. I have not flown a kite many years. We'll see if that's something Asher picks up. They do it in the books. He sees it in the picture books, like the Richard Scarry books. Maybe that's something he'll pick up. Vance wants to know what we think is the stupidest rule in any sport. Mark B. answered it for me. I say it every time. It's the ghost runner rule in baseball. I know the players like it because they don't have to work as much overtime, but it's still just the worst rule, and I hate it. It's ruined extra inning baseball. I think they should play 2 real extra innings and then go to the tiebreaker for the 12th inning and beyond. I think that would be a fair enough compromise, but unfortunately, I'm afraid the rule as is here to stay. What is the worst rule in sports as far as you are concerned?
I don't know. I'm just I'm not a fan of the NFL overtime.
Which part of it?
They just decide to change things every 3 years, it feels like.
Got to be fair. Got to be fair to poor Josh Allen because he didn't win that AFC playoff game against the
It's
Chiefs.
Can we just be consistent and 5 to 10 years maybe change it, not every 3?
Hopefully they've landed in a place where they're going to stick with the rules they have now for some time. You'd like to think.
Yeah.
You'd like to think. Although, if they were really all about player safety, they just get rid of overtime. If you're okay with ties after 10 minutes of football, 10 extra minutes of football, just be okay with ties after 60.
I just think they go to the college football model. I love the college football model.
I like it for college. I think it's too Mickey Mouse for the pros, but I like it for college. I think it's fun for college.
I just think
it doesn't fit the pro game for me.
I see that in a way. I just feel like it would be more exciting.
Thanks for the questions. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll preview the Midsummer Classic in Philadelphia tonight, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game on 580 Sports Talk. .547 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you for just a bit longer, off at 6 o'clock tonight. The All-Star game tonight, 7 o'clock-ish, first pitch scheduled in Philadelphia. The annual battle between the junior circuit and the senior circuit. Do you know which one is which? You know which one is the senior circuit? The National League, because it's older. The older of the two.
I was about to say, it's got to be national.
Yes, it's National League has existed since 1876, the American League since 1901. So that's why they have those nicknames. Of course, over the last 20-odd years, the American League has dominated the All-Star game. Here are tonight's starting lineups for the visiting American League. Mike Trout is in center field leading off, followed by Yordan Alvarez, the DH. Shea Langoliers will catch and bat third. Junior Caminero is the third baseman hitting cleanup. Bobby Witt Jr., the Kansas City Royals position player rep, will play short and bat fifth. Cody Bellinger in right field batting sixth. Ben Rice is the first baseman batting seventh. Riley Green in left field bats eighth. And Ernie Clement, the leading vote getter in the American League, will play second base and bat ninth. Dylan Cease of the Toronto Blue Jays is the starting pitcher. For the AL, for the National League, they'll lead off with 5 straight left-handed bats. Kyle Schwarber, the DH. Juan Soto in left field. Freddie Freeman at first base. C.J. Abrams at short. Max Muncy at third base. Ozzie Albies is the second baseman. Brandon Marsh in right field. Andy Pajes in center bats eighth. And Drake Baldwin does the catching and bats ninth. For Philadelphia's Christopher Sanchez, who starts the game for the National League. Good thing he's not running into the Royals lineup. They own him. The Royals beat his brains in at the K about a week ago. So that is the how things will line up. Of course, Michael Wacha also on the American League roster. We'll see if he gets to pitch tonight for the American League. Fun fact about Wacha, there's only 2 other players in the history of the Major League Baseball All-Star Game that have gone as long between All-Star appearances as Michael Wacha. Wacha was in the All-Star Game in 2015 when he was just 23 years old, won 17 games for the Cardinals that year. Yeah. And now he's an All-Star here in 2025. Trying to see if his stat page shows whether or not he pitched in that All-Star Game. I can't tell. Anyhow, 10 years between appearances. 11 years, actually. The only other players to go that long, to go 10 or more years between All-Star Game appearances, Hall of Famer Burr Blyleven. Burr Blyleven took him a long time to get into the Hall of Fame, but one of the great strikeout pitchers of his era, had a great curveball. He was an All-Star precisely twice. 1973 as a 22-year-old and 1985 as a 34-year-old. So that was 12 years for him. And then the other one, you got to go way back. How far back? They don't call people schoolboy anymore. We don't have schoolboys running around Major League Baseball these days. But Schoolboy Rowe was an all-star pitcher for the Tigers in 1936, and then again with the Philadelphia Phillies in 1947. So he went 11 years between All-Star appearances. In between, a couple years of military service. Didn't play in 1944-45. Won 158 career games, including 24 in 1934 for the pennant-winning Tigers. This has been your Schoolboy Row report. Schoolboy Row roundup.
Can I pound the table on something?
Go
It's
for
not
it.
my final word because I don't want to make it my final word.
Go for it.
My guy, and you're the fantasy owner of this player. James Wood deserves to be a starter in the All-Star game.
Well, vote for him.
I did. Do you know how many runs scored he has so far this year?
The most in baseball, I believe, is 89.
By 21 at the All-Star break.
Yeah, he's
21 more runs scored. He's hitting 279.
He's had a great year. Tell your fans to vote for him. He should be in there instead of Brandon Marsh.
He's got a 4.2 WAR.
You're preaching to the choir on James Wood. Believe you me, you are preaching to the choir on him.
It's the largest lead at the unofficial first half in MLB history.
All-Star games as a whole have evolved over the years and really kind of become unnecessary because they were exhibition games that allowed fans to see the best players on television, basically. And certainly in Major League Baseball, it used to carry a lot of weight because it was the only time, other than the World Series, the best of the American League played against the best of the National League. And obviously so much has changed, even just over the course of my lifetime. But I still say, and I will always say, that the baseball All-Star game is the best of the All-Star games because the NFL doesn't even pretend anymore, and they just do like a fun fest basically for the players, like
flag football.
like a birthday party basically on steroids for their guys. And hockey does 3-on-3, and basketball is just like open gym with no defense.
Who can score the most points?
But the baseball All-Star game will always look like a baseball game, and it will always be contested like a baseball game, unless it's tied after 9 innings and then they go to a home run derby. But
that's still fun though.
No, that kind of rocked. I
am
admit
hoping for a tie tonight, and that happens tonight.
It was cool. It was cool last night. I have to admit, it was cool last year when that happened. Still don't think they should have given Schwarber the MVP for being the best at batting practice, but so it goes. The All-Star game tonight. We'll talk more about that on tomorrow's show. We're going to wrap up today's show with the final word next on 580 Sports Talk. Let's wrap up this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk with a final word. Spencer Dupuy, what you got?
Yeah, final word for me, circling back to the beginning of the 4 o'clock hour. The one thing that I forgot that I wanted to mention was I like the connection of players having their dads throw them the BP
Home run derby, yeah.
derby. I like it, but also I think you should be able to have your team's bullpen or whatever it is, your BP pitcher throw it, because it's going to be more accurate to what you're seeing during BP. And look, Jac Caglianone, I think maybe if the Royals guy was there, maybe he would have hit a few more home runs. I don't know, but I think that's my thought on it. I just think that, especially for young guys.
My thought is that if anybody wanted to hit a bunch of home runs, they should have had Matt Strom throw them pitches at the home run derby last night. Familiar with the environs in Philadelphia for sure. Matt Strom should have thrown to all the home run derby participants. Final word for me. Maybe there's not a Heisman Trophy contender in the bunch, but as I look at the starting quarterbacks in the Big 12 for this coming season, I'm really fascinated by this list. I think there's a really high floor for quarterback play in this league, because even the guys I have some questions about, like Michael Hawkins at West Virginia, or Will Hammond at Texas Tech, or J.C. French at Cincinnati coming up from Georgia Southern, like all of those guys either have major pedigree as recruits, or in the case of French or Jalen Rayner coming up from Arkansas State to be Iowa State's quarterback, have had success as a starting quarterback, even if at a lower level. I think it's a talented group. I mean, look, some of these kids are not going to play well and lose games because that's the way it goes, but I really am intrigued. It might not be as sexy as last year's list of quarterbacks was in the Big 12, but I think this is a really strong quarterback league once again. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero, and this was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.